TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and whoopsies. As you heard last week, we ended with a little technical difficulties. Speaking of technical difficulties, if you're hearing me today and I sound a little bit like B. Arthur, I sound like I have bronchitis, I sound like I'm stuffed up, I'm perfectly fine and healthy. I'm just not as young as I used to be. My friend Rachel Green, who was an episode four, three, four, one of them. She was out here in LA this weekend for a recent guest, Jen Liv, who's one of her dearest friends, got married this weekend. So she was out here. Nathan Nolan Edwards was out here. It was like a TUFF SHIFT reunion. Well, yesterday, Rachel, before she left, we decided to kind of recreate our old Hell's Kitchen days. And I met her at her hotel. We lounged by the pool. It was some weird San Francisco bullshit down here in LA. Like, it felt like it was overcast, and it wasn't until like we were leaving the pool at like 3 o'clock at 3:30 in the afternoon that it finally burned off and the sun came out. I was like, well, that's good timing. But we had a mission. We had to recreate our Hell's Kitchen days, and that's what we did. Went through this like little nacho crawl, a nacho crawl through Inglewood, starting like near LAX where she was staying, and we just kind of made our way. We went to Casa Gambinos, which it's a hole in the wall. Like, it almost looks closed. We were just like, where are we? But it was phenomenal, and I was pissed because I was like, we could have gone there earlier because the bar was packed. Like, this place from the outside looked like it was closed, and it was packed on the inside. So we went into the back, and we just sat in the dining area, and they had like $5.50 margaritas, like medium plus size. Like, they were they were they were amazing, and they were only $5. And the nachos were cool. The maybe not my favorite, but I really enjoyed that experience. And she, as we were walking out, like, I mean, it looked like the beginning of Sister Act, the original, like that, just like rundown, like Reno nightclub bar casino type thing. Like, that's what it looked like, and that is the aesthetic that I love. Like, this has been there forever, and it's probably the same carpet. It's definitely the same wood paneling. The back, the paint, it had a red ceiling in the back. It was just so amazing. And as we're walking out, Rachel's like, "You're coming back here. I know it." I'm like, you know it. You know I'm coming back to do this nacho crawl again. We're gonna skip the second place we went to because they lied to us. I'm not going to say their name, but it was definitely empty, way too bright. And the margaritas they served were those wine-based margaritas, where it's like, oh yeah, it's a margarita, but it's technically wine. It's like the pre-made ones they sell at the grocery store that like aren't in the locked up case with the other liquor. Those pre-made margaritas that have alcohol in them, it's actually a wine product. And so it's not a real margarita. And they didn't taste that good. And I could just hear Wilford Bramley in my head being like, diabetes. So we did not finish those margaritas, which is, kind of fun for it. And then we walked to downtown Inglewood, to one of the offshoots of my favorite place, Fiesta Martin. We went to Martin's Cocina and cocktails and cocina, algo así, no sé. And finished the night strong. Oh, the nachos were nachoing the margaritas. Oh my God, give me one margarita. I think I had 4 margaritas. I didn't get to the 5th one in the song. But I'm not all there throughout the night. I probably had 5 or 6, maybe, actually, truth be told. So that's why I sound like this. That's why I sound like B. Arthur with bronchitis. And it was just, and then I, walked home. She went back to her hotel. I went my way, and just woke up with this very deep voice because I'm very dehydrated. And that's wonderful. So I just love catching up with friends. I love being able to share these stories with you and these adventures and just kind of recreating New York here in LA and being able to share my neighborhood because I love, 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 love Inglewood, California. Amazing community, my amazing neighbors. Actually, on the way to go see Rachel, since I knew we would be drinking, I took the train. And on the way to the train, I ran into a neighbor of mine who he's like in his 80s. He's a veteran. He's lived here his entire life. He's raised his family. He owns two of the houses on the block. Like this is his family, this community. And every time I see him, that man makes me feel so good about myself. Mr. Harold. He is the kindest, most gentle man, and he calls me young man first of all, which is nice because nobody calls me that anymore. He calls me young man. He shakes my hand. He asks me how my running's going. He's telling me how I'm looking fit, looking good. I'm in fighting shape. He's always pumping me up with compliments. He's asking about how my career's doing. You got representation, all these things, and it was just like I knew yesterday was going to be a good day. I knew yesterday was going to be a good day, and so this is not what I'd planned to talk about. But that's my love letter to Inglewood, California. I love my neighbors. I love the aspects of New York that exist here. I love everything that they are that isn't New York. So it was a fun little side adventure. And now I have to do this intro and head to work because, yes, as you noticed last week, we had some technical difficulties and we kind of cut out with Lianne. And we were already like almost an hour into the show. And it was like, whoops, but we got it back. We got her back. And all it did was just give us even more to talk about. So it was like, oh, this is going to be a two-parter. This is going to be, which is wonderful. I love two-parters. I love that my friends and my guests that are becoming my friends, we have so much to unpack together, and we get to share our stories with you because this is what happens behind the scenes. This is what goes on for your if you've not worked in the industry. This is what we deal with, and it's what we deal with like with smiles on our faces. And so I'm so excited. The technical difficulties have actually been happening a lot recently. With the past few guests, there's been things I've edited most of it out, but I'm not sure who's to blame. You know, my internet provider, I won't say who they are, but you know, very, very iffy connections recently. But since we've lived here, we've had issues with their service, and you know, at some point, it's like, oh well, the towers, like your box is being pulled by three different towers because you're in between these things, so that's why your internet sucks. So then they fixed it, and then it was like, oh, and now your router is out of date, so we got to send you a new one. But then it went back to square one. So I'm not sure if it's that, if it's the fact that just like we had recently like a few little heat waves. Does that affect the internet? I don't know. I don't know what that means. But also, you know, this has been, I filmed this and record this on Riverside. And since day one, it's been a journey, and I can take responsibility for what is my part and what I have to learn, the learning curve of using this platform, of using this technology. But sometimes I'm like, y'all don't have this fixed. And when I would reach out to see if it's them or if it's the very iffy internet connection that we have sometimes. But their customer service is like first generation AI chatbot. Like it is not helpful at all. And like they're in like another country, so like the entire business, so it's like the hours are different, so it's not, you're not really getting somebody. And every time they ask you for information, and then you respond with the information that they ask, and then they're like, well, it looks fine on our end. And they kind of, you know, like when you go to a specialist and they kind of talk you in circles as if things are done and you don't know really what they're saying, but you like, you trust them, and then you go back and it's like, no, the issue is still there. And so then I'm like, hey, nothing was actually resolved. I know you said you resolved it on your end, but do you mind resolving it on my end? And then they reply with like, oh, please give us, you know, the show code and the original message below. And it's like, scroll up. Literally scroll. It's like, you know, when somebody texts you, like friends, like, where are we meeting up again? And it's like, before you sent that message, the message before you sent that message had all the information that you're asking now. So like scroll up. Scroll up, people. Scroll up. And so I don't know. This might continue. This might go on. I will make it as seamless as I can for you. But it's always an adventure, right? And it gives us fun things to talk about. But and again, in doing these two-parters and going back to edit these shows, and really every show, when I go back and edit, all of a sudden I think of questions. I'm like, oh man, I should have asked this, or oh, I should have said that, or with Alex Ringler, one of his very first answers, I missed something because I have I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, I'm checking all these things, making sure he's connected, and I missed a key part of what his story was, and then I continued I chimed in and I missed something, and so it was just completely wrong, and I was so embarrassed. So oh, that's not what he said, but he was so gracious and went with me on my journey. But the good thing about doing these two-parters is that I can kind of respond to certain things. So what was missed, where I was like, I wish I would have said this, was when we finished up, we were talking about specialing the tables and chefs yelling at you about why didn't you special the table? How come you haven't sold any specials? I can relate to that on a much deeper level because specials are so low stakes for me. And I know it's nice to know, I never get the special when I go anywhere because I'm like, I know it's going to be more than I want to pay, and probably not as much as I want to eat. So I never get the specials. And for me, I'm just like, it's cool. But I kind of I'll do the first few tables and but it goes out the window. It's like when somebody asks for a glass of ice, you realize that's low stakes with everything I got going on, with all the things I'm managing and juggling. Your glass of ice is low priority. And when shit hits the fan, specials are so low priority because there's only so much I can do. And whereas it would be nice, and I should, I mean, I'm not making, I am making an excuse. I am making an excuse. But it is so low stakes that if when shit hits the fan and when I get triple sat or just impossible tables, do you want to hear about the specials or do you want me to get your drinks faster? Because if you want to hear about the specials, you most often ask for it. And so it's one of those things where it's when it's busy, if you fuck me over by seating me 5 tables at once, if you fuck me over by X, Y, and Z, food's not coming out, this and that, which makes it my job harder because then I'm putting out fires. Specials are out the window, baby. They just go. They're not that important. It's cool, but it's not that deep, right? What does the situation and a kiddie pool have in common? It's not that deep. um, and it also the other thing where it's okay, owning my part, where I drop the ball, is that once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you just the night becomes a blur. Oh, I thought I didn't special you. You really just kind of forget that they exist, don't know where you are. Same thing when I see my coworkers and I'm like, I'm sorry, did I say hello today? Or was that yesterday? Or is this tomorrow? I it all blurs in one thing. So yeah, specials got the window, and I should be better at that, but I'm not gonna be. And that's okay because I'm good at a lot of other areas. I raise the bar in so many other areas that it's okay that I have flaws. It's okay that I have flaws. But if a chef were to ask me what the special was, oh, you better believe you want to talk about a porchetta? I could talk about porchettas all day. So yeah, so that's where we're at. And I'm so glad that this is a two-parter because it's just more time to spend with Lianne, who is such a storyteller. You run into her on the train in New York, you run into her at an audition, you are going to get a story. She is just it oozes out of her. And working in this industry, you have nothing but stories, and being such a gifted storyteller that she is, it's just, you could listen to her for days talk about this industry. And she's a lot nicer about the industry than I am. She's a lot more hopeful. I'm a little more jaded, as you can tell between listening to us talk. You hear her talk it with so much passion. And in this next part of the episode, or this next episode, the second part, we're going to hear about her more as the artist, the phenomenal, award-winning, accomplished resume. A resume. She's got national tours, off Broadway, New York City workshops, regional theater, San Francisco theater, LA theater. She's done voiceover. She's been on The Gilded Age. She's been on Law and Order. She does it all, and she has, because if that's not enough, she has a full cabaret career. She's performed in St. Louis. She's performed at all these places in New York, sold out the best venues. She's on the best lineups in New York City. She is highly sought after, highly respected. And she has a show in San Francisco coming up August 23rd at Feinstein's at the Nico. That's August 23rd at 8 p.m. And get your tickets now. I saw it here in LA last summer, her voice is just, it's the best singing she's done. It's just the best. She's wonderful. It's a great story, as you'll hear her unpack in this episode. But August 23rd, 8 p.m., Feinstein's at the Nico. Tickets can be bought at feinsteinssf.com. And I'm going to shut up because I got to get to work and you got to listen to this episode. So we're going to rewind it back, and so you can kind of catch us back up to where we left off. All right. Love you, mean it. Bye.
So I just would see other servers writing down what they're saying. And I was like, and sometimes I would be like, don't say that. Don't say, but she's just trust me on this. Don't say that. But if you don't have a know-it-all server that's a really good salesman standing next to you, then the rest of your team, they would get so upset the next day. Like, nobody fucking told any of my specials. Do you know, they come here for my specials and then you don't turn them because you didn't describe them in a way that would allow us to sell them. So anyway, that's my biggest frustration.
Yeah, that happens.
Learn to talk about your food. Learn to talk about your food.
And also just the like, I fucking hate menu tours and stuff like that. Like when you get to the table and you have so much information to get to them, it's like, no, but it's the same thing when that person comes up to me at the bar and is like, blah, 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 can you do this? It's like, when you approach a table, you don't want to be hit with, hi, welcome. What do you want? Sparkling flat? You want this? We have a source this and da da da. And here's our menu. This is our menu tour. And we have to get all of it all at once. And da da. And chef really prizes himself on this. And he's known for that. And it's just like, and this was the same chef I'm talking about had a specific way he wanted. And it was like a 2-minute spiel. And he was never happy with, he'd like ask us, sell me on this and sell me on that. And it's like, baby, this is what I do. I can sell a dish. I can paint a picture because that's my job. And he would always challenge the servers. And then he'd be like, well, time him doing it and time me doing it. And he would get, oh shit. All right. How are we doing? Are we uploading?
I'm here.
7:29. Boom. All right. There we go. We'll edit that together. So this chef just like spit it out and little, and it's like, that's not relaxing. That's not going to give your guests the experience they need to like want to buy your food. And like, not every guest wants to hear the specials. Not every guest needs to like, sometimes I cut corners and I'm just like, you just get fucking water. You just get, you don't, I'm not gonna ask you if you want sparkling or this or that. Like, you get water.
Cut corners. Yeah. So when at the restaurant I worked at, they wanted you to do the spiel. And oh my gosh, there's nothing worse than hearing, like you said, a menu tour. It's awful. So what I started getting at one point, nobody wanted to be on the second floor, which was the floor that had a lot of large groups. I liked that because very often they were work dinners, which means it's on the company card. So how I would be able to have such large sections and be able to do so well with sales and tips and everything is I'd walk up and I'd say, oh my gosh, look at all these big menus, so unsexy. Okay, drinks, getting drinks. Okay, now, do you trust me? What is there anything you hate to eat? Do you hate mushrooms? Great, mushrooms. Anything you love? Okay, you like meat? Do you like shrimp, like fried? Okay, do you trust me to create a meal for this group? And just let's get these ugly menus off the table. It worked almost all the time.
Oh yeah.
Almost all the time with large groups. So especially if I could read that they were a work dinner. They loved it. And they would get thanked all the time that they didn't have to they were just so tired of reading things and looking at screens. They just wanted to get these menus off the table. So I would make a whole bit about let's get these ginormous things off the table. And let's get the drinks flowing. And so that's yes, it was great. And also because I would do for family style for something like that, the key is to keep it going so that it doesn't feel, they're not aware of how many courses they're having, just like have a flow of food.
It's just so I had
I had my wonderful bussers. They started to understand that if there were things that if I wanted to make sure they anticipated the steak knife. I just wanted things, all the mise en place to be anticipated. And again, when you're dealing with seating 12 to 1400 people on a Saturday, you're not going to have enough steak knives. You're not going to have enough spoons. So my wonderful bussers would understand. They're like, oh, Lianne's going to sell. Lianne's going to get a high check going. They would go in the early parts of the shift and hide the steak knives because they knew I was going to get some massive ribeyes on my tables. They just knew I would.
Yeah.
So especially if I had the section with the big booths. So they would literally make sure that we would succeed by hiding mise en place. That's what I was good to them and they were good to me.
That's another pet peeve of mine is the fact that like, why is there never enough of everything we need to get through the service? Like, why are there not enough steak knives? Why are there not? And like, you have to play these games where it's like, you have to hide and like your bussers, they knew you're going to take care of them. So they take care of you.
I did.
It's priorities, baby. It's priorities.
Yeah.
We are there for money.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Or now, things are damaged. Like I mean, the sushi rolls would be so much money, and then the soy sauce things, the pottery would be chipped. I was like, absolutely no, we are not again. Not this price point, and it happens all the time. So now that like I said, I don't work at restaurants anymore, but I do still work in service. But I'm trying. It's not always a wise thing, but I'm trying to have it be, oh, do I want to respond to this text and help this chef out or help this event out? It's not an actual scheduled thing anymore. But I work at now and then to help them out at I'm going to say it. I work at Hermes on Madison Avenue as a bartender, which means I just pour free glasses of champagne. But the trays that we carry it on, they're from Muji. They're all chipped. These wooden bamboo trays. And it makes me so mad that I'm bringing complimentary champagne to somebody that's waiting for a $60,000 Birkin bag. It's all about presentation because they can go across the street and get a much better glass of champagne. So it's all just about, the smirk and making them feel like this is a momentous occasion, even though they already own 10 of them.
Yeah.
Why if the wood is splintered and missing off the end? If I had a cafe, I would replace it. If I had a cafe, I can't believe that while I'm serving champagne and they have a Birkin bag that it's splintered. It just makes me mad because part of what we do is food, is hospitality, is making sure that people have a good time, a community together, but also it's just feeling fancy. And chipped pottery, chipped soy sauce is not fancy.
Like you wouldn't go on stage with an unhemmed dress. You wouldn't go on stage with just your wig cap and no wig. Like it's the details that we put into our art. Yeah, it's so. I have one question, and if you don't want to answer it, I will edit this question I'm about to ask you out, and we'll never have to know. But we did work at the same place at different times. And would you unpack like how that started for you and how it ended there? Because I know I remember it being something juicy.
Yes. Well, it started because like I said, my first restaurant job was Pastis, and then they moved me over to Balthazar. And so that was the beginning of my restaurant experience. And I got to know one of the managers there. And Michael reached out to me. And so I think when Cookshop was basically doubling their size of covers of seats that they had when they added that big patio. And I received a message from the manager, who I think at that point was the GM of the restaurant in Chelsea that we worked at. And I had worked with him when he was just one of many floor managers at Balthazar. So he reached out to me asking if I could help at the door because he knew from coming from Pastis and Balthazar, I had really good door service training. I mean, truly back then it was impeccable training that you went through as a server, host, whatever. So I was brought on sort of basically to be a maitre d', but they didn't want to call it that. Like they sort of wanted to have, I mean, the wife of the owner wanted to have a door presence, and sometimes the manager would, but basically to help keep things smoothly going as they doubled their volume overnight. So the manager was basically very much willing to make this kind of barely part-time thing work for me. Very, very
Hmm.
willing because he knew I could fix this the seating because the owner's wife did not. She was sinking, and she loved her regulars, but it was just not serving. It was not serving the restaurant to have her at the door with double the volume. It was fine when it was the half. So it was fine. And when I would go do shows, they would let me. I had finally taught everybody how to handle the reservation book in such a way that it went great, especially for brunch. Brunch was the worst for as far as the double when the volume went double because when people finally sit down for breakfast, you can't trick them into noticing that the time isn't passing. They're hearing their stomachs. They haven't had their first meal of the day, and they notice how many minutes it takes to get food. So brunch is very, 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 very hard as a server and at the door because everybody is starving. Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't eaten for 12 hours. So um, I went away, I think, for just for a week, not to do a full show. And I came back and I was pulled into the office by sort of, sometimes there's people that are like, what would his position be? I'm trying to think of how to say what the position. They're the co-owners, but they're not the charming co-owner. They're the one that has a lot of opinions but barely is present. Is that a good way to put it?
Like a, yeah, like a partner,
A partner.
a silent
Yes.
partner that speaks up.
So the partner pulled me into the office and saw what I was getting paid, and I was fired as of immediately. But this person is hardly ever there. But it's because I was valued and I was fixing a sinking, I was helping a ship from sinking. And rather than being thanked or anything, it was bye. And then I think I heard that the manager that had brought me on and taken good care of me was also let go. Because I think it's and what I will say is that when there is the partner that is barely present but has big opinions about how money is being spent, if you didn't know this 6 months ago, that's your problem. But suddenly it's my problem when I got no job. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it was a long time that I was there. Maybe even
Yeah,
more than 6 months. Might even have been a year. On and off.
and
Again, on and off.
it's one of those things where it's like you come in, you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the day to day, and then like you said, but then
Right.
you have all these opinions
He
about
just
it,
shows up for second. He has
and
so many opinions, and he was barely there. Yeah.
it's like one of those things where like I see how much you comp. I see how much you bend over backwards for these guests. And at the place I'm at right now, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like they will comp the shit out of anything if somebody so much as makes a stink face. Like
Yeah.
they overly comp, they're overly,
Yeah.
accommodating to shitty people. And then
Yeah.
they'll be on your back about like, oh, you need to clock out for your break, or oh, we need to get you off the floor, or oh, da, 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 like we can't give you these
Yeah.
shifts. And it's like, maybe if you didn't, maybe there's a little more balance in like overcompensating with the
Hmm.
guests, you could provide and invest back into your staff, because like you're asking me to invest my time and my energy and what I bring to the table, when at the end of the day
Yeah.
I actually have no stake in it. So I'm investing all this, and there's, again, similar to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode,
Yeah.
investing into something that I'll never be able to cash out of. Like that is some bullshit.
Yeah.
I think we're done with restaurants for right now, because I do
Yeah. Yeah.
want to talk
Yeah.
about, yeah, we could go on and on and on.
Oh, I
But
know. Yeah, what I will say, wait, again, because I always
yeah.
remember the silver lining now, is that when I left there, I was like, what am I going to do? Another one of my dear, dear friends, a former actor, also now has opened fabulous restaurants in San Francisco, LA, and in New York. She's like, this is it. This is a sign that your time as a host maitre d' is done. I know
Mhm.
you're going to be so good as a server. And I hadn't been a server yet. I hadn't had honestly the right training program that wasn't going to cost me like how do I have enough hours in the to do breakfast shifts. So she got me trained in a restaurant she was opening as a server, and then when I went on from that one, it was a small Upper West Side one that didn't do so well. I went to meat packing, and then I very quickly was such a good salesperson that I could make $1,000 in a night in tips.
Oh,
So from getting laid off at that place in Chelsea, or fired as of immediately, I've had another bestie go, I mean, I didn't look for the job. She said, that's it. I am opening a restaurant with somebody, and I know you haven't been a server. I'm going to freaking train you.
I love it.
So both times that something really bad happened with a job, and I had a friend that was in a management position just swoop me up and take care of me and set me on a better path. And that leaving cook shop, that was the end of my bad finances in restaurants. Then the other ones as a server I did so well at, and I didn't realize just the extreme disparity that I was what I was doing to myself by staying at the door. I didn't know.
And that's when you have built like a good community. I mentioned it here on this
Yeah.
podcast before about the difference of finding jobs in LA versus New
Yeah.
York. And in New York, I had such a community that when I needed out, there was somebody that
Yeah.
held the door open for me and was like, come
I
here.
never
We got
applied
you.
for a restaurant job. They found me. Everyone I ever had, somebody said, you work with me.
Exactly.
And even when I switched, it was somebody approaching me every time.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it came from my skills, or in a restaurant, but sometimes it was a friend from theater that was in a management position that said, I want you to be at my workplace. So
Exactly.
we have a good community. Yeah.
Indeed. And I want to switch back now
Yes,
to you
theater.
as a performer. Because
Yeah.
you don't need a lot of these jobs because you're always booking. You are so, it is so impressive the rate at which
Thank
you
you.
are making shit happen. You're doing this interview
Thank
from
you.
a gig.
I'm at Alabama Shakespeare Festival right now. Yes.
Which is phenomenal. And
Thank
I
you.
want to know, like, I know you grew up in the Bay Area like me, and you grew up doing
Yay.
community theater and youth theater and all this stuff, and then you made it to San Francisco State. Now, for
Yeah.
me, when I graduated from college, I was like, I'm never leaving the Bay Area. I'm never going to go to New York. If I get to Broadway, it's going to be because of something amazing that happened to me in San Francisco. And I was so happy in my bubble. And it wasn't until I got to New
I
York to be
understand.
like, holy shit, like what have I been missing out on? So what was that journey like
Yeah.
for you, like from graduating to getting to New York? And what was it that you knew you needed to leave
Yeah.
San Francisco for?
Thank you. Yeah. So I went to San Francisco State University, which was not my dream college. I had dreamed of wanting to go to school on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'd never even been to the East Coast, never even been to the East Coast, but it was from, honestly, movies. I wanted to be in New York or Boston or Philadelphia. It just seemed like so amazing. I'd never even visited them. I just literally from movies, that's where I wanted to go. And I got into several wonderful schools for BFAs in acting. And I ended up not going to them because I was going to have to pay the bill myself for college tuition. And because of there's a couple of theaters in the Bay Area that have a few equity contracts. And so I was able to understand how much they were making as equity actors in the Bay Area. And already at 17, I understood that the math wasn't going to math if I paid for Boston University, Carnegie Mellon, or NYU tuition myself. The math wasn't going to map. What was I going to have to do as soon as I graduated from college with that huge amount of debt? So I went to San Francisco State University, and I worked at ACT, at TheaterWorks, at 42nd Street Moon while I was in college. So I was supplementing. So I already was doing professional things. Like I was in plays ACT, like David Patrick Kelly was my father, in a play when I was 20 years old on the stage of ACT. And I just say that I already was feeling like, ooh, this has got a taste of what a career in the Bay Area as an actor was like pretty early. So then I was out of college for a couple of years. I found a great job. Like I said, working for Clinique, honestly, for the events team was a fabulous job in between working in the theaters of San Jose, Berkeley, Walnut Creek, San Francisco, and Marin. That was like the greater Bay Area, all had professionals theater. I was so happy. And what it was I went, oh my gosh, I could stay here and do this forever and teach a triple threat class on Saturdays and maybe become a private makeup artist and do weddings and do theater but if I don't go now, I think it'll be easier for me to leave what makes me happy now and try New York than regret that I never did. But nothing pushed me away from San Francisco. I was happy. And I think it's what it shocked people. actually, because I was a working actor in my early 20s and, but I just was curious. So that's it. And I have done more of everything. Have I been on Broadway? No. Have I done tours and symphony gigs and cabaret and voiceovers, television? None of that stuff was in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Voiceovers and television? No. So it still was right. I have a very, very full life, but yeah, kind of a boring answer. I was happy and just knew if I didn't leap, I might never do it. So
No,
yeah.
that's a great answer. So what was it that you got? Because you go to New York, and then
Hmm.
thankfully you have established this
Yeah.
base in the Bay Area, so you're able
Yeah.
to come
I
back
came back.
to
I
do shows. And so
Yeah, and luckily, yeah, I
what
was I and I this was rare. It happened to me is that I was brought back as an out of towner. They didn't ask me to live with my family, which I am so flattered by. I don't know what I did right to let that happen, but yeah, they brought me back as an out of towner with the out of town amenities and a place to live and all that. Yeah, and a flight.
So
Yeah.
what is it that San Francisco or the Greater Bay Area set you up
Hmm.
for to succeed in New York? That then when you went to New York with this skill
Yeah.
set, what was it that you came back to do shows in San Francisco with that you wouldn't have gotten had you not gone to New York? Does that make
Oh,
sense, or is that
interesting.
clear?
Yeah, I might have to answer that in two parts. First part, I will say when I mentioned about already, like I remember I went to a general audition at ACT when I think I was a sophomore in college, and then booked these developmental workshops that were going to be full Tuesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I'm in college.
Hmm.
And what I did is I altered my schedule so that I would have 3 or 4 classes on Monday. And then I had an 8 a.m. class every day. So I was working at ACT full time while I was at SF State. I think I did 2 plays while I was in school there. And what I will say about that is I think in some ways that prepared me for New York in a different way than if my schedule had been planned out by somebody else, the way that BFAs are, where they decide for you. And you're like, oh, well, that's what I'm doing. No, I knew what it was to get up and go, okay, hold on, how am I doing this? All right. And then I also had a full I had a full academic scholarship at San Francisco State, so I could take as many classes as I wanted. And what I would do is I would take all of these different international dance classes, and then just take them for pass or fail at the
Hmm.
like you could decide that at the end because it was just free dance. I didn't need it for any academic reason. So there was something about me from like 18 to 22 that was already figuring out how can I get the most out of this experience. And
Hmm.
it was up to me to figure out how to get the most out of it. I didn't drink at all in my college years. And I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I was so into how do I maximize this experience.
Yeah.
And I think I went to New York with that mentality of how do I maximize this experience. And I think some people come and they do that for a while and it burns them out. I had been doing that for years in San Francisco. How
Yeah.
do I maximize this experience? And I chose to not own a car. So when I would work at Neiman Marcus in Hillsborough, I would take my bicycle onto Caltrain and get off Caltrain and bike the rest of the way to Neiman Marcus, and then like had a towel, like wash my face in the bathroom for. So it just there was a scrappy sort of make the most of things that I already had, so I wasn't in shock when I got to New York
Hmm.
as somebody trying to audition and make it. And as far as coming back and doing the shows that I did, I think I saw how much it's so easy to just try to get it right and try to have the most impressive 16 bars and the most, and belt the high note. And the auditioning process in New York was not satisfying for me. It was very frustrating. So then to be asked back into very creative, collaborative environments, I think I appreciated them even more when I
Hmm.
came back 2 years in and 3 years in uh, for a regional show at TheaterWorks or at ACT is just collaboration doesn't it happens less than I realized, and I think it's because a lot of people at the helm are they're scared to allow collaboration from their actors. It's that idea of well, if I relinquish a little bit of control, am I really relinquishing all control? No. And I think it's beautiful that in the Bay Area, there was a lot more collaboration between the creative team at the helm and the actors.
It
And I love
almost.
it.
Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com. All right, back to the show. It almost relates a little bit to what you said earlier about managers when they're new to a place and they get resentful of the
They get
existing
resentful.
staff. Instead of
Yes.
why not be smart and be their best friends and have them help you? Like, why not learn from the people
Yeah.
around you? So it's
Yeah.
interesting. There's a
Yeah.
lot of crossover in our performance lives and our survival jobs
Yeah.
lives that really, so that's quite interesting. Now, I mentioned,
Oh,
and
totally.
you have done quite a bit, and I am somebody who, like, even before I book something, I'm already nervous about like why I shouldn't take it or what I'll miss out
I
on. So
know.
when you've done cruise ships, you've done tours, you've gone out of town, you've been in town, there's pros and cons, like sometimes the goal is to work in New York, but sometimes when you're working in New
Yeah.
York off Broadway, it's for pennies and you get more money working in St. Louis. So what are some of the
Yes.
pros and cons of all the different things that you've done? And do you get anxiety like when you take a
Oh
job, be
my
like,
God.
is this when Broadway calls? Like when I'm
This
at the
one.
Muni?
This one, actually being here right now for the Wizard of Oz at Alabama Shakespeare Festival was very, very, very hard for me. And I actually asked them for like 2.5 weeks to think about it because I thought, I can't just get back to New York. I had two really exciting television auditions happen just weeks before I came here. And I, uh, I can go months without a television audition. And then I get one, and sometimes I have pretty good booking hold rates on television. I'm not saying this in a bragging way. I'm just saying, so then if I go several months without one and I get two in the same 48-hour period and they both fit me so unbelievably well, and it's casting directors that have both cast me before for television, and I don't have that many television relationships because I've only worked in television the last 4 years. 3 years. So that's a new relationship. But you're like, wait, both of these people that I dated before and that booked me before, and oh my gosh, should I go away? Because I am not making much money on this. My personal, what I try to make when I'm in New York, my personal, like, comfy weekly average to just like live, but not buy yourself a pair of shoes, this is below it. This is below it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a 9-week gig. For 9 weeks, I'm saying I'm okay. And then I just did something, as you know, in the spring that paid this exact same amount. It also is below my personal weekly New
Mm.
York averages. And because I have an apartment with my fiance, there's no subletting my room because my room's his room. So I'm still paying
Yeah.
my half of rent. So it is hard. And you have to look at it and go, all right, my agent actually is also one of my best friends. I have a tendency to have my friends turn into people of power and then say, come work with me. I love it. He actually said, Lianne, I need you to make some new friends and fans. And there's nobody on this entire roster of creative team or casting director that you have ever worked with before. And who knows what they're all going to go and do. And I think I want you to go and play with some of these new people. It was really him saying that when I was like, oh, I don't know about this low. And then there's the truth of my fiance saying, Lianne, you're not happy when your week is filled with working in a private home on Park Avenue, helping them with their cocktail party, or you're dropping off champagne to somebody waiting for their Birkin bag. You're not happy. But I have 12 voiceover auditions in a week, almost every week. So, and that is a numbers game. I can do an awful lot of them before I book one. So
Yeah.
but I'm not really answering. It's hard. It's hard. So to go, okay, I just got to say that maybe there's somebody I'm meeting right now during these night weeks that'll bring me back to New York and something. Cause I do like being in New York more. I want to be a cartoon character and be in my apartment.
Yeah.
From my mouth to your ears, I now I'm represented in animation. This is brand new. This is just in last couple months. I am enjoying, my theater girl is so happy being these crazy characters, whether they're creatures or they're psychotic grandmothers, or I'm just having a blast. And I actually think that that's part of what I would like in my future
I
is
love
I'd
that.
like to be in New York, even if it's not on, if it's at some sound studio near Rockefeller Center,
Yeah.
being a cartoon character.
Even down in Brooklyn. We'll go to Brooklyn for work.
Yes, I'll go
Um,
to Brooklyn, baby. Yeah.
that's amazing, and you answered it perfectly well because uh, it's not just about booking, and it's like all problems are solved. It's like that we got tough choices, and sometimes you just have to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Like you just
Right.
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's for health weeks, which for listeners who don't know, when you're in the union, you don't just get whether it's SAG-AFTRA, whether it's
Okay.
equity, like SAG-AFTRA, you have to, I think, make at least $27,000 a year
Yes.
to get
Yes,
that.
correct.
And
In the
in equity, you have to have 11, 22, 11 back-to-back weeks.
11 weeks gets you 6 months, not a full year anymore. There's no way to get a full year.
That it's just, and
Yeah.
so we're doing it for the love, but then again, it is
I love.
also a job, and we
Hmm.
have things, we're humans, and as artists,
Yes.
our body is important to take care of because that's how we are the
Yep.
vessel to deliver the entertainment for you. So
So
just
I
so you
am,
know what goes on.
yeah, with that in mind, I, for the last several years, last couple of years, have been on, I only way I've had health insurance, because of all the different types of work that I do. Unfortunately, it doesn't all come together. It's different unions, like the voiceover and the television and the act. So actually, because I'm diverse, it makes it harder for me to get health insurance sometimes. So I have it thanks to Obamacare, thanks to the Affordable Health Care Act. I have had insurance. And yes, it's technically through New York State, but do you know what happened when I came here? Because again, my fiance said, Lianne, I'm worried about how much longer it's going to be around. And I think you've got to take this so that you have enough weeks that you can be on our union healthcare.
Yeah.
And so you're right, that actually was a big thing. He goes, if you get this, you'll be able to get off. Not that there's anything wrong with being on it, but I got a text while I was here just like 2 weeks ago saying, due to changes in funding from the federal government, there have been changes with your New York State health care. Please log on and check to see how your coverage has changed. I couldn't believe it. It is exactly, people are like, no, but we get it through New York State. They aren't touching the state. No, they are. I don't, I took a screenshot of that text and I had been showing it to people to say, see, I wasn't crazy when I said, we're going to, all of us freelancers or people whose employers don't offer health care, when you work 7 jobs, you can't get health care because you don't work for any of
Yeah.
them full time. You're not lazy. I actually work more sometimes. But anyway, yeah, just a little
Interesting.
something there. That text, I have to be honest, I actually didn't log on to see it because I just started my union healthcare.
Yeah. You're like, I'm good.
So, but that text showed me that the days are numbered.
Now, speaking of your beautiful fiance, I don't remember if it was like a blind date or you met on contract. I know you've worked together, so we
Nope.
want to talk about that. But
It was mutual friends who you also know. Barbara and Travis introduced us.
oh yes, of course, of course,
Hmm.
of course. It's all coming back.
Yes.
And what is it like having a life partner that
Hmm.
understands more than anybody what you're going through, and what is that partnership like where you understand each other and get to cheer each other on and all that, and
It's
also
great.
the hardships around it.
It's great. Thank you, Sean. It's great. Also, not only does he do it, but he's fourth generation performer. His
Oh wow.
grandparents were vaudeville performers. We have photos and even some of their memorabilia in our apartment on the walls. Um, his uh, so yeah, his grandfather played thousands plural, performances as Horace Vandegeller opposite Ginger Rogers, Dorothy Lamour, Ann Miller. We have photos of him with them, production shots. And then when they got tired of the vaudeville and the regional, oh, he also did. I don't remember how many productions of Die Fledermaus as the clown. Beverly Sills, in her autobiography, she said her favorite clown ever was Coleyworth, that she ever had shared the stage with. So they owned a dance studio in New Jersey, and then his mom took that over and then turned it into a whole performing arts. And his aunt has been in like 5 Broadway productions, including the original like Grand Hotel, Coco with Katharine Hepburn. So this is all to say, and his dad did television and quite a lot of it. Anyway, but you don't know any of his. This is the thing: you don't know any of his parents' names. You don't know his grandparents' names. You don't know his aunt's name. But they were full-time performers, and then later dance teachers. He gets that it's just what we do.
Yeah.
There is a ease for him. I get very hungry. I get very hard on myself. I'm very driven. I'm not saying he's not driven. He is driven. He's every morning, he has a whole routine of looking for work, of reminding, of reaching out. But there's a calmness because it's familiar to him, what he saw his parents and grandparents and aunt do. There's a calmness. And so on top of being cheered on and supported, going, of course you have to go, as opposed to beyond missing each other, there is an encouragement, an understanding that making a relationship works in this industry means also making time apart work, not just time together, time apart. So it's just a fact. So that's nice, is that's not a conflict. That doesn't mean we don't have conflicts, because when you're apart for 20 weeks and then come together, it's real weird. It's real weird. You get like, just, why are you talking to me? I just thought I was going to be quietly making dinner. It's unbelievable.
Who left the
little
towel
things
on the
when you're
floor?
apart for
Who
20
left
weeks.
The dishes? Yeah.
Yes. You're suddenly just, the person either doesn't need you enough or they're too needy. Anyway, but there is support from both of us coming together to make this happen. So yeah, and also the understanding that even though we're not being paid very much, we have to see each other on a contract. It's non-negotiable, because too much time apart is bad. For communication. For being in each other's heads. Yeah. So that's good too. It's like, it's non-negotiable. Of course you have to, great. Well, yeah.
Now on the flip side of that, because I know you did your cruise ship gig was together, and it was like nice because it wasn't just one of those like cheesy ass cruise ship reviews, which I would take right now because I also have a fiance, and so we got bills to pay, we got a wedding to pay for. So so you and just to finish the point that I made, you got to do an actual show, like
we did
a musical theater show. You did $1 Million Quartet together.
What
is it like being trapped in a contract and trapped on a boat with the love of your life?
That is interesting that you ask that, because I had just quit working in the meatpacking district right before that happened, and I thought he and I weren't seeing each other very much because I worked such late nights, and he is a morning person, believe it or not. So he'd always be asleep when I got home, and he would get up in the morning and I would be sleeping till 11 a.m., So we were like 2 ships passing. And then suddenly here we are on stage together, sharing a room together for 7.5 months. Luckily I made friends with the female stage manager, because the cast is all male, for those of you that don't know, but I made really, really good friends with female stage managers. So she and I started having a routine, and it was nice because I did miss being able to tell him about things, because we were together so much. There wasn't anything I didn't have stories because he was by me. But then once she and I got a routine where we picked up like these weird side jobs to get extra money, $10 an hour, but we're like, let's do it. Let's make all the money we can. And then we got to know a crew member that would let us take bicycles off that technically weren't supposed to be taken by the crew, but we were very nice. And so I started having fun, a routine with her, and then I had something to talk to him about. And it's so funny, but I needed that.
You wouldn't think about it until you're in it. which
Yeah.
is so,
Yeah.
so cool. Finding that time apart when you're that close together. That's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful.
Because the male friends that he made really liked me too. And so it would be that we would hang out in like in three and foursomes, but I was like, no, I need to hang out with somebody that just so I can tell him about it.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. Now, listen, I want to do a time check with you to see how you're doing because I want to make sure we talk about your show.
Oh, yes, we should probably do that because I do need to leave in like 15 minutes for
Perfect.
my
We're
show.
we're wrapping up. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll leave that in because I do kind of like some of the behind the scenes stuff for our listeners. Maybe I'll cut it
Yeah.
out. Anyways, so all these amazing things you've done, and what couldn't be more incredible and rewarding than booking all these shows is coming up with your own shows. And you have like
Oh,
it's not
yes.
just you've done your own shows. You've been a sought after guest in many people's lineups and many people's shows. You've worked with Scott Siegel. You've been,
Mhm.
however many times you've been in Susie Mosher's The Lineup, which is that mouse pad right behind
Yes.
me. And so,
Love
what?
her.
Let's talk really quickly about the rewarding
Yeah.
part of
Oh,
you coming to cabaret, and then tell us about
yeah.
your cabaret you're bringing to San
Thank
Francisco.
you. Yes, I mean, I do love musical theater, but the song is written, the instrumentation is written, the orchestration is written, the lines of dialogue are go into it, and you know exactly how many bars of intro. It's very much decided by whoever originated it. You have a tighter um, set of instructions than you may realize, especially when you're a student and thinking you can try anything, and then you kind of get cast and you go, oh no, there's some pretty strict parameters around me. So in working with my current musical director, Ron Abel, who is an incredible composer of his own right, but he also is quite known to being an exceptional arranger of songs. And he's the go-to musical director right now for Lucy Arnaz. He's been with Lucy Arnaz for, I think, over 30 years, 35, 40 years. Peter Allen, Shirley Jones, I could go on and on with the number of people that he is their go-to, Linda Pearl, their go-to musical director. And in working with him, there's songs that I have heard and just thought, I understand why Sondheim did this. Well, that's of course we do. He's a genius. But I sometimes want to plop a song from a musical or even a song from a radio in a different situation. And I like to think about how that situation would change the tempo, the meter, even make some of the harmonics be a little less happy than they sound in like some bubblegum, like pop radio hits of the 60s. But if you actually listen to the melody line, I like messing with it, not just for the sake of messing with it, but for a reason, a situation.
Hmm.
And that's what cabaret has done for me, is those little things that I have gone, well, looking out the window on a train and listening to the song in my head. I'm actually creating those arrangements with somebody and then performing them, and it's a thrill. And then you put together a whole reason for 15 or 13 to 15 songs coming together, and that's then when the playwright in me gets very, very, very happy.
Yeah.
I'm a happy playwright because I only wrote one play in college. It was my senior year, and I've never written a play since. But now I guess these shows that I've written, they are plays. They are
Yeah.
plays. Not a single song is the way it would be in anybody's rep book. They are rearranged, reimagined, rewritten, basically.
Yeah.
So the current show is for Dusty Springfield, The Windmills of My Mind.
Which I
And it's
saw in
all
LA
music.
and loved.
Yes, that's right. You saw in LA. Catalina Jazz. That was my LA debut. I'd never
Yes,
performed
baby.
ever in LA. So I take these songs that are all introduced by her, and um, I'm sort of looking at the ways that she conquered her spinning mind, and I share ways that I have conquered my spinning mind, because I neurodivergent, that phrase did not exist. Did you know that the phrase stress didn't even exist in the early 60s? I looked up, I forget right now what year the word stress actually came into existence. Like suffering, yeah, or suffering from stress, that
So
idea of
it
stress and
makes sense that
anxiety.
our grandparents are like, what do you mean stress? What do you talk about stress? They
Yeah,
actually did not
anxiety.
know.
Mm-mm. And so I just really, in learning about her, watching interviews and reading biographies from people that were very close to her, I saw all that she had to overcome in order to get on stage and be the incredible icon that we know and love, that sang The Look of Love, Son of a Preacher Man, and the struggle she had as an artist with so many ideas, but she's a female. Female. And her producers, she had to really find producers that wanted to hear from her. So, yeah, and it's fun to share some of the brain hacks and the tricks that I use, or that I read that she used, because there's some similarities. And so that's sort of how I ping pong, and it's a fun little play. And I had, by the way, when I did it in LA, wonderful Tony Award winner Michelle Lee, love her. She called me afterwards, and she said she wanted to take me to lunch. And she said, your show is so good, but I have an idea of ways, just a few little small bits of advice I'd like to give you, because I want it to be fucking phenomenal. She said it was good, but she's had these couple little ideas. And I had lunch with her, and her ideas were fabulous. And you know what? She never said it because she's of an older generation. That woman absolutely has a spinning brain. Oh my gosh, to get her to stay on topic was hilarious. It was hilarious, but her ideas were fabulous. And then I integrated them into 54 Below at New York City. So yeah, I am a very happy playwright, singer, a girl that I've never, yes, I know how to read music, but my music vocabulary is not that of someone who has a degree in music, you know? Yeah. So to be able to get better at communicating with music, thanks to a collaboration with Ron Abel, it's very empowering.
Yeah.
So Dusty Springfield's at Feinstein's at the Nico in downtown San Francisco, just one night, August 23rd. It's a Saturday. And I am hiring, I have a 4-piece band. There'll be local musicians. And then Ron and I are flying out from New York, though. He'll be with me and local musicians. One night, Saturday, August 23rd, Feinstein's at the Nico. Yeah. And a lot of people go, Dusty Springfield? Yeah, I Only Want to Be With You is in there. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so I'm going to put in the show comments the link for Feinstein's. It's feinsteinssf.com. You can buy your tickets there, and do not miss this show. Where can people find and follow you? Just share your handles right here.
Yes. Yeah. Instagram, I am NYC Nightingale. Like, Nightingale sang in Berkeley Square.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And
I'm on Facebook too, and I have a LinkTree because I do have some merchandise. I have feminist merchandise from some of my shows, because I'm LinkTree. LMDSings.
Perfect. And so before I let you go, I know you have to get on stage.
I do.
I like to always make sure that I get good news to the people who need to hear it, because I know that so many more often than not, it's the bad news that makes its way to management. So I like to go out of my way to share the good news. So I want you, before you go, to give a shout out to somebody in your life, whether it be performing, survival, whatever, all these things, who has made a tough shift in any sense of the word, has made a tough shift, and you just want to thank them here today.
I mean, I have to thank Victor, one of my bussers in the meat packing, who would do anything for me, and my friend and general manager of 2 different places I worked at, Tim Myers, who how much he loved his entire staff, from the dishwashers to the cooks to the servers to, Tim Myers absolutely helped so many of us in tough shifts, and Victor had my back. Always.
There we go. So there you have it. Tim, Victor, thank you for everything you do. Clearly the world needs more people like you, and we see you and we thank you. This has been another episode of Tough Shift. And just remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, And character is what brings your story to life.